Ho ho,
Woo!
how you doing, Rick?
Ho, ho, ho! Santa's lifeguard is in the house here on a
I
Friday.
love it. I love it. Well, hello to everyone out there who is not on your third glass of eggnog at your holiday party or in the midst of a conversation with one of your coworkers that is getting way too personal. If you need to get away, if you need an excuse, come join us here at Staffing Mania today on this Friday, December 20th, right before the holidays, right before Christmas and Hanukkah. How's your week been, Rick?
It's been busy. The last week
Yeah,
before Christmas, because everybody pretty much today at like noon, they're off. Next
yeah,
week,
yeah.
everybody's off. So it's like email, phone call, phone call. And it's from people that you
Oh.
haven't talked to in 2 months. They're like, I'm following up now. Like the last day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Mm-hmm.
been fun, I can't lie. No drinks yet, but tonight, Christmas pop-up bar. I'm gonna go to one. So yeah, get
Nice.
ready.
Oh, I'm so jealous. We've talked
Woo-hoo.
about the Christmas pop-up bars before. I'm a huge fan of them. And unfortunately, the last couple years I've not been able to go because the reservations have been so strict to try to go. Apparently, they're very popular here in Phoenix, and you got to know somebody who knows somebody to get on
It's
these lists. So,
it's a blast. And by the
yeah.
way, this week, Toys for Tots for 2 days. I dressed up as a Grinch. 1,600 families in my hometown we deliver toys to.
That's fantastic.
It was pretty amazing. Yeah, I scared a
You,
couple kids. They cried. Younger kids cry when they see Grinch.
I was going to say, even though you dress up as the Grinch, Rick, you are the exact opposite of a Grinch, in my opinion. You are one of the most heartfelt, giving people,
I
and
know.
I just want to thank you for being an example for me and for so many other people, and for doing that in your community. I know that that makes a big difference.
Well, thank
That's
you. You know what? And you know what? Without Staffing Mania, we're going to get a little sentimental. Without you, Staffing Mania wouldn't be around. You know what I mean? So, this is,
Aw.
meanwhile, we have the grudge match today we're going to talk about. But I got to tell you, something about the Grinch show. People love the Grinch. I went to Dunkin' Donuts
Yeah.
with my Grinch outfit on and got free coffee. So I'm thinking every time I show up the rest of the year in 25, I'm just going to put the mask on.
The Grinch.
Yeah. It's like Grinch.
Just wear
Getting
the
pictures with
outfit.
me. I was behind Dunkin' pouring coffee and everything. I'm like, this is great. I think every day I'm going to dress up like, I think it's Halloween for me.
Yeah, yeah. Every day you could dress up as another famous Christmas movie character if you wanted to get a little crazy with it.
Well, next week, get ready on LinkedIn because I'm Super Santa. Christmas Eve from 4 o'clock to 5 in my hometown. I dress up as Super Santa and wave at everybody in our neighborhood. Yes. And then I go to Walmart and everybody gets pictures for me Christmas Eve at Walmart. It's insane. It's my
Oh,
third
that's
year.
awesome. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I love it.
All right.
I
You
love
ready
it.
to deep dive in
Meanwhile, the
now?
most festive I am, I have my sweater on, but that's
I
all I got
love it
today.
though. It's Mary, Mary. Can I even sing it?
Mary, Mary. Yep.
Why you bugging on Christmas?
I know. Why are people bugging about our metrics?
I don't know, but
We
I
have
got to tell you straight up out there, everybody's bugging about the metrics. But my peeps, if you want to thrive in 25, you got to change them metrics. I keep saying this over and over again. Amy knows this. Me being on the grassroots, I'm telling you what the recruiters need and what they want if you want to retain them.
Yeah.
All we're doing is telling you the truth. But at the end of the day, these metrics, they can fluctuate. These are not set in stone. This is like a blueprint, like a guide. That's about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And really, these metrics. So we started last Friday. We dropped our first metric, and every day leading up to Christmas Day, Merry Christmas, David. Leading up to Christmas Day, we're dropping the metrics that we believe can really move the needle or can make an impact with how you run your business. We're not saying that the old metrics, you need to toss them away. We're not saying they're lumps of coal in a stocking. What we're saying is that these additional metrics are just things to consider to help you maybe be a little bit more predictive, a little bit more proactive, a little bit more empowered with insight as opposed to reaction with how you run your business. And these metrics, often they're not simple. We fully admit that. They are not a simple click of a button that you can run and get spit out and have it be a representation of a silver bullet of everything that's going right or wrong within your organization, because the organization is holistic. You have so many different moving parts and people and players and activities. And that is what these metrics are meant to do, is just shine a light, maybe go a little bit deeper in your your depth of business intelligence, apply a little bit more intelligence. So that way you can start to spot those signals and patterns that you might otherwise be missing if all you're looking at is those surface boilerplate KPIs that we're so used to tracking day in and day out.
You know what? You said it very well there. And I'm going to just add this. You know what? With this guide, this is like a playbook. And then you just add your sprinkle on it, your twist on it. That's what I'm saying. Everything, we're laying the footer for you. And then at the end of the day, you just add the receivers or whatever you want to call it, the quarterback or whatever like that. And I think that's where in 24, everybody did, struggle because they didn't have a strategic plan. We're giving you the strategy right now, and all you do is enhance it. That's all we're saying, Twist it. I mean, it's all good. At the end of the day, I mean, if you don't want to, it's okay. You don't have to listen to this. But at the end of the day, let's talk next December, see what happens. Wink, wink. Can I do that one time? I had to bring that elbow in. Come on.
because again, all of them matter, and they all matter in some degree or some capacity. And I think you said it perfectly. These are meant to be a blueprint, a framework, a foundation. You'll notice that we don't specifically say, like, here's exactly the metrics that you want to include in it. It's like, here's some examples of metrics that you might want to include in this more, holistic metric that you want to measure. Things like time to respond or time to act or level of engagement. You decide what that means for your organization, or you measure what matters most to you. We're just simply sharing our suggestions of the things that we think are much more signal versus noise, and that can help you be a little bit more predictive, a little bit more Nostradamus, right? You can see what might happen in the future based on what is or isn't revealing itself through these different metrics that you measure.
And what we're just going to sum it up here before we deep dive into it is Amy knows about, the emotions and the, everything that's going on, to put a good team together. And then on my side, I'm talking to the recruiters. So managers out there, listen to me, over talking to maybe 500 recruiters this year. This is what the feedback I'm getting from them over the year. So we're putting both together. So, I know a lot of people, managers, when they throw a KPI out there, they don't want to hear back from the recruiter like, this is it. This is your report card and goodbye. And you're losing out. You're probably losing a lot of good talent because, you didn't do it the right way. So all we're doing is trying to tweak at so you can keep your talent good in 25.
Yeah, keep your talent primed, engaged, excited, and moving the needle in a meaningful way. I think, last week when we first talked about this and we were just evaluating a couple different KPIs, we're saying some of them are just too narrow, or to some extent maybe a little too rigid in what they're measuring, or the meaning really that the story you're trying to tell from that metric. For example, we talked about like number of calls, right? That's often a very common one. Like, oh, you have to do 100 calls a week or 100 calls a day, or whatever it might be. And it's like, sure, maybe for someone who is just starting out, who's a brand new recruiter, and you just want them to get comfortable getting the reps in. Sure, definitely if you want them to start there, have them start there, just so that way they get comfortable making those phone calls, having those conversations. But then over time, that metric probably needs to shift, because it's not so much about the quantity, it's about the quality, right? Quality that's going to be, I think we talked about this last week or recently, where quality, I think, is going to be one of the big differentiators going forward, especially in 2025. Staffing, it's a business that often is competing with itself, competing with one another, and using speed or price as the two primary drivers of success. And while those certainly are not ones we're saying ignore, there are other components too. There are other factors that can help set you up for possible greater success in the future beyond just speed and quantity.
You know what's funny is the staffing standard. Everybody keeps saying the standard. Whoever made these KPIs and metrics, you haven't talked to the recruiters. And I'm representing the recruiters right now, because you know what? Put them in a room and make your own KPI with the recruiters in your team. That's what it's about, Amy. You know that. And every year we keep saying the same thing over and over. What's professionalism? What's this? Let me tell you, peeps, I'm having fun with it. And I don't follow any of the staffing standards, do I? At all. I don't, peeps. I just do it my way. And I'm getting candidates and clients because I'm just loving life. And it's like, I think sometimes, Amy, we think too much into it. We worry about, we spend all this money and time on KPIs. at the end of the day, it's still communication, quality, and talking to a person and making a difference. If we spend more time with that thinking instead of all this logistic stuff there at the end and how we can make this recruiter better on paper, how about in actions?
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautifully said. Because we want them to feel successful, because when they feel successful, they're much more willing to show up to help you as an organization be successful. It's pairing both the means and the ways, right? So we absolutely, as a staffing firm, we're not saying, it's all about hugs and rainbows. You have to make money. You need to make a profit. And there's certain things that over time have been proven to help move that needle forward. But the times are changing, right? The needs of people are shifting. What they prioritize most, both in their job within your firm, but also as a candidate, as a client or a candidate working with your firm, their needs are different. And so, or the way the conversation is had is a little bit different. And so I think just shifting the conversation, shifting the lens a little bit more, again, to dig deeper, to not be average, but to be extraordinary. If you're happy doing the standards, and the standards is getting you the level of revenue or your growth trajectory that you're on, great, cool, keep at it. Do you, man. But if you are struggling, or you want to try to explore something different, maybe take a little risk, try something new. These are the things that you can start to implement.
And I like how you said that before we jump into this once again, the risk part, in 25, you got to take a risk a little bit. I mean, I think our industry is so conservative. They don't want to leap off. Me and you leaped off because we have our own business, but it's not about us. It's about, we're trying to help everybody else out that has struggles in 24. We're going to thrive in 25. And that's all we're about, because in January, we're going to have a big roundtable of everybody to put this in action. You know what I mean? Because it's just not us. We're giving the blueprint, but guess what? We're going to invite everybody on the show to put the sprinkles on top.
I love it. I do love sprinkles.
Little Christmas cheer there, little Christmas terminology. It's the Santa hat, Amy. I'm thinking real hard today because I got the cap on. The cap is on. Are you ready to start into this? You ready to dive in?
Yeah. We'll touch on a few of them that we've shown, that we've introduced over the last week here. So the first one we started with was time to engage. And this is really to just help measure how quickly, but more so how consistently, you're having these engagement conversations, these engagement opportunities with your clients and your candidates. And it's not the 100 calls, right? That's not what this is meant to represent. This is more looking at how timely are they in their response to requests? How maybe willing are they to dig a little bit deeper, have a slightly longer interview, or whatever it might be? How quickly are they willing to respond? Because that's a signal, right? All of these are meant to be predictive signals, patterns, little things that kind of like are creeping up going, hey, this may result in either something great or something problematic down the road. And that's what this first one is, time to engage.
You got it. And I love that. And I'm going to base it like this. Like, you go through the drive-through, when I used to be at Taco Bell and go through the drive-through, yes, I did get fired from Taco Bell because I said, welcome to the border. Can I take your order? And they said, that's not our slogan. I'm like, well, I'm out of here then. I was only 17. It is what it is. I was doing marketing back then. Can't help. They're like, no, you got to say Taco Bell. I was like, no, welcome to the border. Can I take your order? It's much cooler. They're like, nope.
Yeah.
So long story short, time to engage, like even through the drive-through there, you got 3 minutes to get the food out. But you know what? Over them 3 minutes, if you don't get the food out, yes, you might get knocked down, because they had metrics there, believe it or not, for Taco Bell, because they wanted you. But the food had to have quality too. You just can't get the burrito out there and it's got cheese all over it and stuff. Everything has to have perfect time, but perfect quality too, and quantity. So at the end of the day, that's what we got here.
And on the flip side of that, sometimes things take longer than what you planned or what you originally expected. But if you're taking the time to engage a little bit more with that customer, maybe through the drive-through, or that's standing in front of you at the counter, or in this case, where you're working back and forth on maybe trying to get somebody placed or help someone find a job, people are a little bit more forgiving. They're a little bit more willing to give you grace if you're allowing the space and time to have a little bit more of a conversation than just knocking through and sending them maybe a quick text or whatever.
You hit it on the head. And this is where I teach people that the time does matter. When you talk to somebody on the phone, there should not be a time clock and I got 3 minutes with you and you're looking at your clock. Because guess what? If you have a great in-depth conversation, they're going to get back to you in a timely manner. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
It's that time versus time for each other. And I think that's where we're lacking with in our industry. What I see is that a lot of recruiters are on the phone. They want to get off so quickly so they can get another one on, or maybe go to the bathroom. Who knows what the hell? There's a lot of stuff going on between that. But at the end of the day, if every conversation, Amy, is like I always say, like you're on stage and you engage them, feel involved with them, they can feel that vibe. They can hear that vibe. They're going to respond a lot more than just that quick snap. Because at the end of the day, if you snap them, they're not going to snap back and not even respond back.
Yeah, that's a great point. So time to engage, that's one. And again, you choose what you want to measure with it. We gave some ideas here of things that you can use to determine, but it definitely helps just potentially create awareness or warnings of maybe downstream issues when it comes to your relationship with them. All right, next one, cost of vacancy. This is always a fun one because I like the warm and fuzzy feelings and making sure people are seen and engaged, but there's also this other side of it too, which is how much money is this costing you across so many different realms when it comes to the cost of a vacancy, because this is not just the cost of how long it's taking, right? But there's also the costs involved in trying to get this filled, the number of people that you're having to present, the back and forth that seems to happen, the indecision, the constant revisions. All of these play a factor in the cost of a vacancy. And the more that you can measure that, but then present that to the client, it actually can position you in a really great opportunity to be less of an order filler for them and be seen as more of their partner in success. Exactly. And if you can do that, forget it.
You are okay.
You're
so
winning.
here's my last thing I'm going to say on this. The cost of vacancy is here's where the lacking part is. I see on my end is when you try to place somebody, you send all the information over there, you don't hear back from the customer for 3 days, and then it's Friday and you're scared to respond to them because you're scared to get no. There's that you got to respond. That just with the time thing, that cost of vacancy, not having that person there. We have to put pressure on the client that this candidate's not going to be around anymore. And we don't do that. I love, you tell me no, I'm going to say yes. And we're going to battle it out. And if you don't want it, I'll take it somewhere else. And I don't think our industry is like that. Nobody wants to hear no. Give me no.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
But also, I mean, to take this one step further, this metric doesn't necessarily inform that, but to take it one step further, if you really invest in some good business intelligence and some analytics here, you can almost fill the job before they even ask for it because you know their patterns, you know their predictive ways, you know their seasonal shifts and bumps. But it's both through those conversations, maybe those less formal conversations that you have with them. And they're like, yeah, you know what? It's been kind of crazy here lately. It seems like people just keep coming in and out. That's a signal. Like if that's having time to have that conversation and be like, you know what would it be? What if we just got ahead of this? And how about I send you, 3 or 4 people, because it seems like there is a little bit more of a unpredictable influx here. What if we spend a little bit of money up front, but that way you ensure you're covered when those happen? You can be their partner through leaning into the metrics a little bit more beyond just, fill ratios, but start to look at some of those patterns and listen a little bit deeper when they are sharing what's going on or what they're seeing, feeling, or hearing at their location. Yeah.
100%. And that last thing before we move on, I always say when you talk to the client and you get the contract, just don't ram that contract and get it. Make sure you do all your research like you said, and make sure you see why is the other staffing firms failing? Why is going on? Because just don't point that it's bad candidates, because that's all I hear all the time. It's bad candidates. Just keep throwing it in there. There's got to be a reason why. That's where you have to dig deep in and see what happens.
Be a little Sherlock Holmesy with it. Dig a little deeper. So this is another one that so it's surprising to me how little or how infrequently these are measured, or to what depth they're measured, which is the sourcing quality beyond just the number of or revenue generated from, right? Like in and outs, if you will. It's taking it a little bit deeper and seeing the, the depth of quality of these different sources and whether they are bearing fruit, not just for the immediate, but for the long term, based on who's coming in.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think our sourcing is going to change in 25. I mean, you know that, and I'm a big advocate. I'm going to say right now, voice AI will save you a lot of time, money, and everything like that. Because you tell me anybody, it's likes the source and the
Mm-hmm.
quality. I mean, coming in, people hate
Yeah.
sourcing. It's like being a garbage person. You're like, it's the and staffing. I hate to say it, it's that position that's always entry level. Just make phone calls and get somebody on the phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. We could, that's a whole other subject. We can talk
Oh,
about that more
I
in
know. I
another
can go off on this.
session.
This is a little tangent on this. Yes.
Yes, but sourcing can be so much more than what it is. But first and foremost, look at how much you're spending. It's juice worth the squeeze. How much you're putting out versus how much you're getting in beyond the, the need of the moment or the revenue over a period of time. Like, go a little bit deeper with it. That would be my recommendation.
There you go.
All right. Here we go, Rick. Client
Oh
health.
boy. Here we go. This
this
one we
touches
got
a
a
little
lot of
bit of,
we
yeah.
got a lot of kickback on this one, didn't we?
Well, it again, I fully recognize, and this is my personality. I am, if you were to look at the Chinese elements and a couple other factors, I am a metal. I aim for precision and excellence and growth and being better than what we
Mm-hmm.
always are. And so that's what a lot of these metrics represent, is how can we just level up a little bit more? How can we go a little bit deeper? And when we think about client health, it's the holistic relationship. It's like if you were dating somebody, how much are you willing to overlook because of things that they give you or things that you get out of it? It's actually like looking at it a little bit more big picture and seeing, okay, yes, maybe we go on nice trips, but they treat me like shit, then maybe I don't want to date that person anymore. It's that same principle
Exactly.
here when we think about client health.
And it comes back to the no thing here. I mean, Amy, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
tell you this year, there were so many clients that I flipped over and made them healthy again. And it's because
Yeah.
they had their staffing was horrible. They were like, as soon as you miss one day, you're out the door. I'm like, and you can never come back, do not return ever. I'm thinking, really? So, I mean, there's so many different metrics that you can tie into that, and they will listen to you. But you got to present it in the right way, Amy. You know what I mean? You just can't go in and just start pointing fingers. You got to put facts behind it, why they should be healthier, And
Yes,
then once you get that
exactly.
going, I mean, I'm going to tell you what, when you get a lean machine client going, oh, it's priceless. I mean, the money you can make, everybody's happy. But I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of times you have to go in, you get that contract, they're unhealthy. And guess what? They're still staying unhealthy and you're unhealthy. That pulls everybody down. Even the candidates, they don't want to work for an unhealthy company. I mean, come on.
No, it has so many permutations across your organization. If it's a pain in the ass client manager isn't going to want to talk to them. Candidates or recruiters are not going to want to submit people because they are not treated well, right? Candidates aren't going to want to work there. People talk. It has rippling effects. And so it's looking at what this relationship is actually costing you beyond financial, but also, mental, emotional, all of those other factors that play into whether or not it's a relationship worth continuing. But along with that, I think, Rick, you could bring up a great point. This is not saying you pull this data, you look at it and go, wow, we don't want to work with them anymore. No, this is an opportunity to start a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Be their advisor, be their partner. You have to be a coach to your clients more so than probably you realize.
You got it.
But once you are, you get loyalty. You have trust.
Be there. Okay, so I'm gonna name it like this: be their personal trainer on this. That's all it is. Bring the muscle, bring the protein to the company. There it is, Amy.
Yeah.
Right? Simple things like that. That's what they want. And every
Mm-hmm.
company, when they're working, they have a good health, client health. What do you think they are? They're making money. They're productive, right? Protein equals production. It's just like the gym if you think it that way. I mean, why not? StaffingMania. Let's pull the muscle into that. But you know what? This is where we come in as the coach, where we have to take charge.
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, what we all know the term because we've all experienced it ourselves. You can't read the label when you're inside the jar. They are inside that jar, and that jar is closed real tight to them with maybe just a couple holes that they can breathe out of. You actually have the benefit of being outside the jar and being able to provide a slightly different perspective to maybe what they believe or think is or isn't happening within their organization and within their, their workforce. There's going to be tells there for sure.
I love this metrics. I'll be honest with you. This number 4 is so important for your staffing firm to grow in 25 and always has. What do you think?
Yeah.
And it's something
yes. And it's a differentiator. There's so many that are just order takers. If you can be their true trusted advisor and partner in their success, man, you are going to go to the top of their call list, their go-to. And going back to some of those earlier things, you might even be able to send them people and they don't even need to screen them. They just trust the people that you send. They're like, give me whoever you have and I got it. And then your time to fill is like this because it took no time at all because you've built up that trust. I
love that. And last year, I would say 18 out of the 38 companies, just Shark, me and my team just sent them. We trust you. That's it. But you know what? They didn't trust the A, B, and C. I won't tell the other staffing firms because they're franchises. But they didn't check the health. I did. I went for a gut check with all of them,
Mm-hmm. I always like to think of it like a Jiffy Lube. When you go to Jiffy Lube, you take your car to Jiffy Lube, they have like the 28-point inspection that has red, yellow, green. You just create whatever your 28-point inspection might be with your clients, whether it's done as a monthly, a quarterly, a semi-annually, whatever that looks like, but do it. Do that 28-point inspection with them and help provide them recommendations. Be their trainer, be their mechanic. Don't let them drive out on the road with janky brakes or, no power steering fluid. You want to give them that support and guidance.
You got it. Number 4. Woo-woo.
I know. So this was another one that we talked about that we really liked, which is the actual net growth, both the in and the out, beyond just the head count, beyond just the what is week over week, but the cumulative activity of what's happening when it comes to assignments and placements.
Yeah, I love this one. I mean, you know what? Everybody talks about just the head count, Amy, and that's all I hear over and over again. I mean, give me your take on this. Like, seriously, anytime you go to a staffing firm, it's like, you okay over there?
Sorry. Yes, I'm good.
Oh, all right. CPR. All right. She's down at her account there. I got her. Oh, she's off the screen now. Look out. StaffingMania is getting out of control here. Yo, we're going wild today. But no, the actual net growth. I mean, when you really think about this, I mean, how many staffing firms overlook this a lot? They don't really get into detail about this. I mean, you tell me your take on this. Like when it comes down to this, I mean, you talk about headcount, but do they ever factor anything else in?
I would say some do to some degree, but I don't believe to the extent that it could be. I would say, okay, I've been doing this for 20 years, right? In some capacity, whether as a software implementer, as a product designer, and as what I do now with change growth and preparation. And it's interesting to me how often when I ask clients, like, how are you? Do you have like renewals or extensions as their own metric? And they say, no, we just treat it all as one. It's all just one big pool. It's just one big pool of people that are on assignment, TOA, right? That's what we look at. And I'm always surprised by that because staffing, there's so many people that treat staffing as just like this never ending hamster wheel of sourcing, and finding, placing. And it's like, if you could spend just a little bit more time and energy, but they'll all say, well, we do have a process for getting extensions or getting renewals. I'm like, yeah, but you're not measuring it. You're not rewarding it differently than anything else. So it is something that I think should be looked at overall, because it's not just the people that are out there. It's not the number of assignments that you have, but it's how often are you finding brand new people versus continually putting to work people in your ecosystem, creating employees, not temps, right?
And that's the key. And some people don't. I mean, I'm going to take it to a real quick thing here. You're at the end of the year, people, real quick here. You should be going back with every one of your contracts and renewing them with an upcharge. I mean, for next year. And I see a lot of people don't even do that. I mean, it's a little sidetrack, but this is something that I just thought of right now. Y'all need to get it done before the end of the year, and they don't. They're missing out on this. But like you said right here, I mean, anytime you can expand on a client and turn that contract into an employee and keep going to the next one, and the next one. You
Mm-hmm.
should be able to, if you tell me you have 150 people on there, I said, how many actually went full time?
Mm-hmm.
They can say, well, maybe 10. They really can't give you a number. And I said, well, how long did it take them to go full time? Is there I think the metrics like that, we really need to know. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think whether they went full time or what's the tenure? Like, what's the average tenure of the providers that you've put out to work? Like, if it's 13 weeks, that's a signal that you are burning so much time, energy, money, and effort in getting brand new people, as opposed to like keeping people in your system, in your ecosystem, keeping them working, treating them like employees versus just commodities, heads that you're just constantly rotating in and out. So I could go on for a long time on this one.
And this one real quick is it's because when you negotiate with the client, you let the client control that. You're like, 13 weeks, you can take them full time. Why not drop the rate down a little bit more and say, let's do 26 weeks? You know what? Keep them in your system. But you know what? Here's what happens is everybody's scared after 13 weeks that they're going to fall off before them 13 weeks and they're just going to lose out, Amy. So it's one in where they're being very, precautious. They're not being risky yet.
Yeah. As to quote Lauren Jones, you got to risk it for the biscuit every once in a while. So I think we need to do a little bit more of that. But that's my final soapbox take on actual net growth. All right. So this one was also an interesting one. There was a lot of feedback on this one on the interwebs, which was all about recruiter and account manager time to respond. And I called it out right up front in the post that I said, this is not just about speed, because speed we treat as like the holy grail of staffing, but speed and sacrifice to what? And so this is meant to look at both the good and the not so good of speed, because you should be able to, if your organization is leveraging your ATS effectively, you should be able to track how quickly things are being created and updated and moved along your timeline. And yes, speed is important, but speed is not the only measure. And this can be a signal or a tell of, well, to a certain extent, I think people that go into staffing maybe have a little bit of ADHD, and so it kind of fuels them a little bit. It's also though can be problematic when it comes to focus and distraction. And I see it daily in conversations that I have with clients that I work with, where there is so much context shifting every single day. It's just fire, reaction. And I always get concerned about, how is this helping you move your strategy along? How is this actually helping set you up for long-term success versus just short-term risk mitigation? And so when it comes to speed, I think there's two sides to speed. And so making sure that you're looking at that, like, how long is it taking people? And is this a signal of really bad business processes where everything is communicated via chat or email and they have to immediately react to it? Or, is the signal of like poor desk level management and they just can't stay on top of everything in a really effective way? So it's looking at the two sides of speed.
I think it's too much. They can't handle it all because it's coming at them so fast. You got AI. I'm going to tell you what, the first thing is, though, Amy, and this is a little bit off course, I would say 85% does not use their ATS to capacity. They don't even have no clue. They use one little part. And that's another story too, because I see they're like, you could have any of the Bullhorns, Aviantes, Crelate, any of them, and you're only using a little part of this after the owner's paying all this money for this. But here's what it comes down to. I mean, I've seen the recruiter, I think, I'll be honest with you on this one here, account managers, they are probably the worst one of both of them. I'm going to tell you, account managers did not. I mean, no, they never follow up. They follow up every 6 months, and it's a bad follow up time. If we
don't put them all in one basket. Come on.
Oh, I'm going to be like that right now, because account managers, I've trained a bunch of them this year, and man, their follow ups are only once in a while, and the clients tell me that they giggle when I have a contract. Like, look at this other competitor. Like they send me a message every 90 days. Hey, you interested? I mean, I think their time now, the recruiter, I'm going to tell you what, the recruiter has a lot on their desk. That's where I think the manager needs to come in. And this is where the metrics comes in. What is your day-to-day goals? What are you supposed to do every day? They don't. They just say, you're a recruiter. You do A to Z and get it done by 5 o'clock. That's too much to ask them. Don't you think they need to, like, if you're a receiver in football, they don't tell you that, you're going to be on defense too. You got one goal to do, catch the ball and get a first down or a touchdown. Let's make it simple for the recruiter too.
Yeah. But also the same receiver is not running every single play. You know what I mean?
No.
Like they're not going back to back to back to back to back to back to back, which is really what we often expect and measure against with our recruiters. And that just leads to burnout, but also a lot of missed opportunities, errors, reduction in quality, all of those components. So be mindful of this when it comes to time to respond. Don't just look at speed in isolation or look at the two sides of speed.
And that time to respond, you can lose a lot of clients and candidates that way too. I've seen it, Amy. You know that.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't want to pressure, but you got to have a strategy every day. I think the biggest thing is with all these metrics is when you get up Sunday, you should prepare yourself. Monday, when you go in the office, you shouldn't say, well, what am I going to do today? I got to do this. You should have a plan for the whole week. I mean, naturally, it's not going to go as normal because we're in staffing, but I don't think a lot of people prepare for the battle for the week. Do you think?
No, because it's a reactive, because the majority of what they're doing is reactive, or it can be if it's not managed well. And so, yes, there's always plan for the unplanned, right? As ironic as that sounds, but you plan for the unplanned. You know that things are going to occasionally go off, but if it allows for everything to go off the rails and you're not sticking to any type of schedule within your day, it's going to lead to increased feelings of burnout, overwhelm, and lack of fulfillment because they don't feel like they're accomplishing anything.
No.
So keep this in mind. All right. And then our last one here while we wrap up, this is candidate health. This is very similar to client health a few times ago, but it's the same premise here. It's just evaluating the overall health of your relationship with your candidates across whatever metrics you value most. But I, as always, because I'm going to be Amy Yack here and I'm going to be my metal self say, challenge yourself to go a little bit deeper, a little bit broader into what you consider a healthy relationship. It's not just about the numbers and the money. Look at those other factors as well to determine how healthy this relationship is.
Exactly. And that's
what you could do about it.
And you got to ask them. I joke with me, but like most of my candidates have my phone number. They call me from 10 years ago, Amy, and they want to talk about a divorce or something like that. That's me. I don't say everybody has to do that, but I'm like their social worker and best friend anyway. But I think with the candidate health, like even light industrial, make sure they have a car. Don't just force them and ask them about their life. They might not even they might be couch surfing somewhere in California on a couch. I mean, they have food. This is where that social work part of us needs to come in 25. And I think every office should have like a social service person that just takes care of this and does the candidate health and a checkup every week, a candidate checkup, we could call it. You know what I mean? Where, what's going on? Because at the end of the day, do we really know what our candidates are about? The only time we really know is when they don't show up for work. Then we're like, oh shit, what happened?
Yeah. And I always like to remind, they are W-2 employees. Treat them like that. Give them the same resources that you would provide your recruiters and your account managers and anybody else on your payroll. Don't forget about them. They're doing the work and they don't have the level of support necessarily that they might need. So
remember, here's my slogan. I tell every candidate: without you, I don't have a job.
Right. Yeah.
And without me, you don't have a job. And they're like, dude, I say that to every candidate I meet. And they're like, dude, I love that. I'm like, dude, I won't live or eat without you, bro. But you won't get this job without me. And when you break that down to them, Amy, every time they're like, I love you, man. It's so simple because you care about them.
Yeah. You're in it together. You're mutually shared success, right? Or not so success, but mutually shared for sure. All right. So those are our first 7. Rick, we have a lot more to go. I think we have 5 more to go.
Boy, we do. What a great. I took the glasses off for that, Amy. That was deep dive. I had to take them off for that. Now I can put them back on. It's so bright in my studio here.
And even though we jest a little bit about it, we definitely welcome your feedback on these. We fully recognize, again, disclosure, fully recognize that this is asking more than maybe what you've done before. And it requires a little bit more intention, attention, and maybe analytics, or even the way this information is being captured or not within your operation. So it does require a little bit more than the BAM than the bare ass minimum or the staffing standards, right? That might be out there. And again, take the ones that you like, leave the ones you don't. It's a toolbox. It's a toolbox of options that you can pull out and use to help you if you want to build better in 2025.
Yep. If you want that championship belt, just take some of these. You don't have to take them all. But this was definitely a grudge match day. You know that, Amy. Tomorrow, next week's going to be another grudge match before the end of the year. I mean, I love this because we're getting the rest of the metrics are coming next week. And I'm going to tell you what, it's I can't wait till we have the big event in January. You know, put everybody in, talk to them, put a little sprinkle on top. You know what I mean? It's going to be good.
It is. And please share with us. Yeah. And if you have any metrics that you absolutely love that you find have been wonderful predictive signals, predictive pattern spotters that have helped you get ahead of or stay on top of what's going on in your business, please share them, because this is not a limited list. There are so many that are out there that we can lean on and use. And some of them, while we think they're boilerplate, some of them are things that people have never thought to use or have utilized before. So please share them.
I love it, Amy. All right, you ready to get out of here? It's Christmas time in 5 days. Woo, woo, woo.
I am. I'm ready to get my jingle on.
All right, on 3, let's do ho, ho, ho. You ready to do it? Let's do it.
I'm ready.
On. 1, 2, 3. Ho, 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 ho. Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody from StaffingMania. We love you all, and we'll see you next week on another grudge match. Yeehaw.